You ever notice how greed doesn't feel like greed until you're already losing money? That's the twisted part. Most traders swear they're disciplined until the chart starts running, the candles start stretching, and the voice in their head whispers, "This time is different." And here's the uncomfortable truth that slaps almost every trader when it's too late. More than 80% of retail losses don't come from bad setups. They come from moments where greed looks like confidence. It hides inside the hype, inside the candle that looks strong, inside the fear of missing out. That invisible shift from plan to impulse, that's where the account damage begins. Let me paint the first story. A young guy named Mark, mid-20s, hustler, wants to build something big. He's got dreams, big ones, but his trading habits, man, they were chaos in disguise. One day the market was pumping hard, the kind of move that makes every new trader feel like they're missing the chance of a lifetime. Mark sees green candles flying and his pulse jumps. He tells himself, "This is the one. This is where people get rich." He buys high, real high, and for a moment, he feels like a genius. His heart's pounding. He's staring at that unrealized profit like it's the entrance to a new life. But within minutes, reversal. Sharp, fast. No mercy. His stop wasn't ready. His plan wasn't set. His mind wasn't steady. He's watching his account evaporate, and suddenly he's not a genius. He's trapped. But he doesn't sell. Oh no. His mind goes into full, it'll bounce. It has to bounce. Just a little bit more. And that moment, that refusal to cut, is where greed transforms into panic. By the time he closes the trade, the damage is done. And here's the worst part. He tells himself he'll never do it again. But next week, same setup, same reaction, same story. Now here's the part nobody talks about. Mark wasn't addicted to winning. He was addicted to the idea of catching the perfect move. The big one. The hero trade. The validation hit. That little emotional high that lasts 5 seconds and costs 5 days of recovery. Put that story next to someone else. Monica, a mother of 2, works a stable job trying to use trading as a second income. She's careful, too careful, until she sees everyone on X posting wins from a trending stock. She gets that fear, the one every trader knows deep down. The, "if I don't enter now, I'll miss this forever" fear. She jumps in late, hesitates on exits, ends up losing exactly the amount she was trying to protect. 2 totally different people. One identical pattern. Not greed for money. Greed for certainty. Greed for the feeling of being right. That's the real trap. And this is where the deeper pain sits. Most traders don't lose because they're inexperienced. They lose because their emotions run faster than their rules. Markets move at the speed of information. Human reactions move at the speed of survival instincts. And that gap, that delay between what your strategy says and what your emotions scream, that's where the market takes what you aren't prepared to protect. The average trader doesn't realize they're not fighting the chart. They're fighting their own timeline. The market rewards patience, but the human brain is wired for immediacy. The market punishes late entries, but the human brain hates watching opportunity pass. The market demands detachment, but the human brain is addicted to narrative. That's why so many traders lose the same way again and again. It's a biological loop, a chemical loop, a behavioral loop. Here's the part no trader understands. Greed doesn't show up when you want more profit. Greed shows up when you can't handle waiting. A patient trader isn't someone with stronger discipline. It's someone with better emotional timing. Let me break that down raw. A greedy trader sees potential. A patient trader sees risk. A greedy trader wants the reward now. A patient trader lets the market prove itself. A greedy trader imagines what could happen. A patient trader deals with what is happening. See the difference? One mindset is trying to secure the future. The other is trying to survive the moment. And this is exactly where AI changes the game. Because AI doesn't predict where the market is going. It predicts where you are likely to mess up. It spots the moments your emotional patterns spike. It sees the exact time window where you typically abandon your plan. It tracks how long you usually hold winners versus losers. It identifies the micro behaviors that cost you consistency. AI doesn't care about your fear. It doesn't care about your excitement. It doesn't get tricked by the hype. It just measures, compares, and reveals. And when traders see that mirror for the first time, it hits different. Because suddenly the problem isn't the strategy. It's the execution. It's the timing. It's that emotional surge that lasts 11 seconds and wrecks your entire week. And this is where everything flips. Because most traders think they need more discipline. What they actually need is emotional awareness. AI makes invisible habits visible. It reveals that you jump early, or you exit late, or you chase the move instead of waiting for confirmation. AI exposes that you don't trust your system. You trust your feelings, and your feelings don't understand risk. Imagine this. You tell yourself you're a patient trader, but AI shows you that you enter your trades 22 seconds earlier than your strategy requires, on average. That means you think you're following rules, but your behavior is quietly leaking risk. Now think of the power in that, not in some robotic, emotionless, automate everything way, but in a way that makes you aware of the exact moment your mind betrays your plan. That's the real upgrade. That's the real shift from greedy to patient. Because patience isn't passive. Patience is a weapon. The patient trader isn't slower, they're sharper. They don't wait because they're scared. They wait because timing is the difference between consistency and chaos. But let's get real for a second. You're not becoming patient overnight. You're not waking up tomorrow magically immune to emotional impulses. You're not suddenly going to stop chasing moves just because someone told you not to. Humans aren't built that way. We move toward excitement. We avoid boredom. We react faster to fear than logic. So if you're trying to train yourself into patience manually, good luck. You're fighting biology with willpower, and willpower cracks under pressure. This is why AI plays such a big role. Not because it replaces you, but because it slows down the noise, shows you the pattern, helps you catch yourself before the emotion takes over, helps you rewind your behavior and rewrite the wrong reactions. It becomes a mirror, a coach, a pattern detector, and eventually a mindset stabilizer. But let's go deeper. Greedy traders don't think they're greedy. They think they're ambitious. They think they're trusting their gut. They think they're being smart by not letting the market leave without them. That little ego, that tiny internal salesman making promises he can't keep. That's the voice that flips the switch from logical to emotional. That's the voice that convinces you that skipping the strategy just once is harmless. That's the voice that tells you that rules are optional when the chart looks perfect. A patient trader hears the same voice, but they don't negotiate with it. They don't bargain. They don't justify. They don't explain. They let the rules speak louder than the emotion, not because they're stronger, but because they've seen what happens when they aren't. Now picture this moment. A setup forms. Clean. Textbook. You're staring at it, waiting for confirmation. But price starts moving early. Your heart jumps. Your belief jumps. Your desire jumps. Your patience cracks. You enter. You know this moment. Every trader knows this moment. The market knows it too, and it punishes it almost every time. Here's the twist most traders never realize. Greed isn't when you want too much profit. Greed is when you lose control of time, when you can't let a candle finish, when you can't wait for structure to form, when you rush the process because your emotions are louder than your strategy. That's the real battle, not the market, not the trend, not the volatility. It's the internal fight between the trader you think you are and the trader your behavior proves you are. And this brings us to the most important shift. AI doesn't just track your mistakes. It exposes your emotional timing, the exact moment your brain switches from patient to impulsive. It shows you the micro-trigger that causes you to jump, the pattern that repeats right before you break rules. It catches the moment your decision stops being rational. It reveals how predictable your emotional reactions truly are. And once you see it, once you recognize that you're repeating the same instinctive mistake again and again, something inside you changes. Not instantly, not magically, but permanently. There's a switch that flips, a realization that you're not losing because you're bad. You're losing because you're unaware. And that's the moment when patience becomes a choice, not a struggle. But here's the part you never expect. Patience comes with a price, a heavy one, a price that almost every trader fails to pay, a cost that shows up long before the profits do, and it decides who evolves and who stays stuck. And this is exactly where everything in your trading changes, right at the moment when that price finally shows itself. See, greedy traders don't blow accounts because they're reckless. They blow accounts because they refuse to surrender control. They want to force the market to match their expectations. They want instant payoff because the waiting feels like punishment. And they don't realize that the waiting, the silence between candles, the space where nothing happens, that's where real traders are built. A patient trader isn't someone who moves slowly. A patient trader is someone who knows that timing beats speed. Structure beats impulsiveness. Clarity beats excitement. And here's the messed up truth. Patience feels like losing until the day it saves your account. Greed feels like winning until the day it ends your account. Let me give you an example you've lived 100 times. A setup forms. It's clean. It fits your plan, but it's early. One confirmation missing. Just one. You know you should wait. Your logic knows it. Your plan knows it. But your emotions, they're loud. They're impatient. They're hungry. And for a split second, they win. You enter early. And guess what? That split second turns into a loss that lasts 3 days in your head. Now imagine that moment through the eyes of AI. AI doesn't see hype. AI doesn't see temptation. AI sees the timestamp. It sees the pattern. It sees that out of your last 60 trades, you jumped early on 41 of them. It sees that your average early entry cost you 18% of potential profit. It sees that you hold losers 2.7x longer than winners. It sees that your fear shows up at the exact same second every time. That's the kind of truth humans can't spot without a mirror. And here's the punchline. AI doesn't judge you. It doesn't mock you. It doesn't shame you. It just shows you the part of your trading psychology that you've been ignoring. And when you see those numbers, when you see how predictable your emotional mistakes are, you can't hide behind excuses. You can't blame the market. You can't blame volatility. You can't blame bad luck. You're faced with raw truth. Your behavior is costing you money, not your strategy, not the trend, not your broker. You. That's when the transformation begins, not with discipline, but with awareness. Greed starts to look different when you finally see its pattern. It's not about wanting more. It's about wanting fast. It's about wanting control. It's about wanting the market to validate your belief. But patience is a different kind of power. It's slow. It's quiet. It's not dramatic. It doesn't give you dopamine, but it gives you something way more valuable. Consistency. Let's go back to something most traders don't admit. Greedy traders aren't motivated by profit. They're motivated by the fear of not being special. That fear fuels the impulse, the chase, the overconfidence, the FOMO. It's the emotional voice that whispers, if I don't take this trade, someone else will win and I'll fall behind. And that voice ruins more accounts than any technical pattern ever has. Patient traders hear that same voice, and they mute it. Not because they're stronger, but because they've learned one thing greedy traders never understand. Missing a trade is not losing. Breaking your rules is. Here's something real. Every time you skip a trade that doesn't meet your criteria, you're not being safe. You're building identity. Identity is what makes patience automatic. Identity is what makes discipline effortless. Identity is what turns a trader from emotional to professional. The minute your identity shifts, your behavior follows. AI actually accelerates that shift. It shows you the exact moments where you behave like the trader you don't want to be. It tracks the emotional fingerprints you leave on every entry and every exit. It highlights the hours of the day where you're inconsistent. It reveals the setups you overtrade. It exposes the decisions you make when you're tired or hyped or distracted. It becomes the accountability partner you can't lie to. You can lie to yourself, but you can't lie to your data. And here's where the story deepens. Every greedy trader has a moment, a real one, where they see the cost of their behavior right in front of them. Not a chart, not a loss, not a blown trade. Something deeper, a realization, a flash of truth, a moment where they understand they don't lack strategy. They lack emotional control. And that moment hits harder than any stop loss. Let me give you a raw example. A trader named Sean, full-time chef, part-time trader, told himself for months that he'd fix his bad habits next week. He said he'd stop chasing entries. He said he'd wait for confirmations. He said he'd follow the plan. But every morning, same pattern. He gets excited. He jumps early. He holds late. He gets frustrated. He overcorrects. He revenge trades. His account becomes a journal of regret. One day he installs an AI-based trading journal, not to become robotic, but to track his behavior. Within a week, the AI shows him something that breaks him for a second. It shows that every time he had less than 4 hours of sleep, he broke his rules. Every single time. It also shows that he enters early 76% of the time when he's stressed. And here's the punch in the face. He wasn't stressed because of trading. He was stressed because of work. Trading wasn't the problem. His emotional state was. The market wasn't beating him. His mind was. That's when he understood the truth patient traders already know. Trading isn't about finding the perfect strategy. Trading is about building the version of yourself that can actually execute one. The patient trader isn't perfect. They're not emotionless. They're not special. They've just trained themselves, through awareness, through structure, through emotional clarity, to become harder to shake. They understand that the market doesn't care how they feel. The market doesn't care about their intuition. The market doesn't care about their hopes. It only rewards those who respect time, structure, and probability. Patience becomes a superpower because it protects your energy. It protects your discipline. It protects your account. It protects your confidence. A greedy trader gets emotional highs and brutal lows. A patient trader gets emotional stability and consistent growth. And the transformation, it's not loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't look like a movie scene. It's subtle. It's internal. It's a shift in the way you breathe before you enter a trade. It's the calmness you feel when the market is moving, but you aren't. It's the confidence that comes from watching a setup form and saying, not yet. It's the moment where hesitation becomes clarity, where fear becomes information, where waiting becomes freedom. That's the version of you the market respects. The version that doesn't flinch at noise. The version that doesn't get seduced by hype. The version that doesn't let impulse destroy structure. The version that enters with purpose and exits with logic. The version that doesn't chase, but attracts. And slowly, quietly, consistently, your behavior changes. Your confidence becomes cleaner. Your trades become intentional. Your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to win, and you start seeing yourself as someone trying to execute. And execution is what turns patience into profit. If you've felt that internal pull, if you've seen glimpses of the trader you want to become, if you've tasted the calmness of waiting, if you've experienced that one day where everything felt aligned, then you already know what I'm about to say. You are not as far as you think. You are not broken. You are not inconsistent by nature. You're just operating without awareness. Once you understand your emotional timing, once you see your patterns, once you catch yourself in the moment before the mistake, everything shifts. Call it discipline. Call it control. Call it growth. Call it evolution. But it feels like truth. And truth is what turns greedy traders into patient ones. So listen closely, if you've made it this far. If something inside you is nodding right now, if your gut is telling you that this version of you is real, then trust me, it is. This shift isn't optional. It's inevitable. Because once you see the cost of greed and the power of patience, you never go back. And if you're ready to evolve your trading mind, subscribe Mind for Trade. This is your next step.